Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso's here with Matt and Christy. Happy 2021. It is a new year. 2020 sort of seems to be lingering in a lot of ways, which I think we all figured it would, but maybe not to the extent that it has. But anyway, here we are. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you guys. I've missed you both. I have not seen your handsome faces in over 2 weeks now, and I'm going through withdrawal, so it's nice to see you. I think I figured that we would just play catch up this week, but then so much has happened just in the past 2 days, and we're still in it. We're still engulfed in the turmoil of it, and so we'll talk about that a little bit, and we'll do some celebrity and coronavirus and entertainment news. This week, I feel like it's like that week where we had all the Black Lives Matter protests, where it just seems off to talk about film reviews. I mean, there's a bunch of things we wanted to go catch up with, and maybe we still will at some point. I really want to talk about Another Round with you guys.
Yes.
I really want to talk about the Bee Gees documentary, which is like a month old. But
Sylvie's Love.
Sylvie's Love is beautiful. The clothes are amazing. But I feel like this week we got to sort of focus on what's happening in the world and sort of take a breath, take stock, and just see where we are. So the main thing, of course, is that Wednesday there was an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, and that Trump stirred up all of his followers, Trump and Rudy and Don Jr. stirred them up and said, "Go fight," and filled with righteous indignation and collective rage and just the need to break shit. They stormed the Capitol and
while the Capitol was in session,
right? The
joint session.
The reason this was happening on this particular day, January 6th, was what should ordinarily be a rather perfunctory ceremonial function of the Congress of certifying the Electoral College votes. But of course, Trump has been, for months sowing the seeds of doubt that it was a legitimate election, and built his people up into such a frenzy that when he said fight, when he said January 6th, be there, it will be wild, he gave them their assignment and they went and did it. And so people are dead. A U.S. Capitol police officer is dead. A woman was shot. A woman who was a Trump supporter was shot trying to climb into a window. 3 other people died of various medical ailments in the course of the rioting. And it's I hate to say it's shocking. It's not surprising that this happened because it's all been building up to this, but it's still deeply, viscerally shocking that this could happen in our country. And, it's sad. Where were you guys while it was happening? How were you watching it?
I was, sitting on the sofa, and I knew that day was going to be bad news. He had been revving it up so much. But, the night before, there had been some skirmishes where the cops were sort of smacking down Proud Boys, and they were like, but I thought we were on the same side. So I kind of figured it would be the same sort of non-event. And then at some point I got a text in the morning from somebody who was like, are you watching the news right now? And so I turned on MSNBC and just was glued to it for hours. I couldn't believe this was going on. And I think, the horror of all this is not just that he has built this moment of rage based on total lies about the election being corrupt, which so many courts and the Department of Justice and everybody else was like, nope, not true, not true, not true. And he's still hammering that point. But to get all those people to come to DC, people who could clearly afford it and could afford to take a day off in the middle of the week, and then have no response from the National Guard, from the Department of Homeland Security. When you look at the kind of presence that shows up when there are any kind of black protests going on in DC, when you saw the people who got tear gassed so that Trump could have that ridiculous photo op with the upside down Bible in front of the church he never attends, that the cops just let them in and pose for selfies with these terrorists. This goes way deeper. There's a lot of levels of bullshit going on here.
Where were you, Matt? What were you doing?
I was here. I was working. And I started seeing stuff blow up on Twitter, and then, made the mistake of paying attention all day.
It's hard not to. You have to. It's history. It's our country.
Dave made me turn the TV off for 4 hours because I was glued to it for 4. And he was like, okay, just stop.
Yeah, I mean, it brings home the reality, and it's a thing that, for the most part, I will admit I'm pretty good at glossing over and ignoring, but it brings home the reality that we have that there are people who in this country who are in a situation that can fall for that kind of brainwashing is devastating, right? I remember as a kid, somebody mentioned like, look, happy people don't join gangs, losers join gangs, right? And this was that similar thing, right? Like you don't wake up, like nobody as a kid starts out thinking, well, I want to grow up to be a racist. And like, I think that's the exception. And, after not just the last 5 years, but after well over a decade, if not 2 decades of Fox planting these seeds, between that and the, getting rid of the equal time rules and the deregulation of ownership of media companies, because it used to be that you could only own, a particular station in 1 or 2 markets, and you could only own a newspaper in a couple of markets, and you couldn't own a share of voice across multiple markets and have an overwhelming voice in a particular market. That's all gone away. So that's all served. Look, like I tweeted about this earlier today. Call it an oligarchy, call it a corporate plutocracy, call it a kakistocracy, call it what you want. It's harder and harder to ignore the fact that we live in that the system, sadly, is doing what it's designed to do, which is keep the rich people on top and keep everyone else underneath. And as things have gone along, as it's getting, like, I almost feel like the business interests, the haves, the ones with lots of money and I mean like the 1% of the 1% and all this stuff that's baked into keeping this going this way. Like you get to a point where like, okay, well, we've squeezed all of the minorities as much as we can. Who else we got? Right. And so then like the money and opportunity start going away from white people, like rural white people, which they used to have. And that's going away the same way too, because corporate profits take place over everything, like take priority over everything. Now you've got a whole generation of people who are realistically asking like, hey, I thought there was an American dream here.
And Trump tapped into that when he ran. The whole Trump, forgotten man bullshit. Yes, absolutely.
And that's been right. Like he's a symptom.
If you're a plutocrat who doesn't want the mob coming after you, you have to distract them with, oh, it's those brown people, it's those black people, it's those fill in the blank. They're the ones who've stolen your opportunities.
Or now we get to say like, oh, it's the white supremacist. That's not that regular person. Like it's right. Whatever it is, don't look at us. Don't look at the people in charge. Don't look at the people who, don't look at Jeff Bezos. Oh no, don't look at.
But on Wednesday, Matt, they were coming after their own. They were coming after Republicans to try to force them to reject the votes.
Right.
That's all that was.
This is a cult of personality.
I think a lot of those wanted to fuck around. The guy with his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk just wanted to fuck around. He went on TV afterward and bragged about it.
Because
the guy holding the podium and smiling, they're just there to cause havoc, and it's not really ideological.
Did you see the Joy Reid? And believe me, I've disagreed with Joy Reid about a lot of things over the years, but she had that whole long thing on TV. Like, white guys aren't afraid of the cops. Yeah. White guys can behave like this and be cavalier about this shit because they're not afraid of the cops.
Well, and to be clear, no one should fucking have to be afraid of the cops, right? Like that's like, again, like if we look deeper, no one should be afraid of the cops, right? Absolutely not. Everyone
that's a whole other topic of greed.
Well, right, but it's all related, right? Like you should, like anyone should feel like, oh yeah, I could just walk around the Capitol. Like, okay, right? Like,
yeah, but with a gun?
No, I don't think with a gun.
Flag.
Right. I mean, look, like my whole feeling, it's disgusting. I'm fucking disgusted, right?
Yes.
That a class that there's people in this country who could get talked into believing that this election was stolen, right? That could, and it leads me to think of like that question, like, all right, are you dumb or are you lying? Because it's some of both, right? There's absolutely some of both. And I think that the people who instigate, who helped invoke this, like Trump and Hawley and Cruz, all of those fuckers need to be arrested. All of them need to be held up for, if not outright sedition, then treason. That's absolutely what that is. Absolutely.
Well, sadly,
actions
we
have consequences. And the GOP talks about like, oh, we're the party of personal responsibility. Yeah, the fuck you are, right?
Yeah.
So then go to fucking jail.
We have this broken two-party system where you have one group that is either actively fomenting or at least sort of blithely tolerating this kind of nonsense, and then the other party that doesn't really do a fucking thing about it, and so it makes it very easy for this to happen again. Like, just watch, even Pelosi with her talk about impeachment, it's like, next week. What kind of bullshit
There's no
is that?
time. There's no time
for this, and so it's like, so we have one side that's being actively evil and the other side that's dithering and letting them do it. So it's like, great. It's like, I've been saying this over and over again, and I feel like a lunatic, but it's like the next fascist is going to be more competent than this. And then we're fucked. And we're going to have the next fascist if we don't like massively overhaul the system and start giving people economic opportunities.
Right. I'm terrified of who we're going to see take the lead in the 2024 elections. That's going to be scary. And the other thing that's going to be scary is, Inauguration Day.
Yes.
Right. So that is on January 20th. All the stuff that occurred was on January 6th. So a week from this Wednesday, January 20th is the inauguration. A lot of the reason that the rioters could cause so much damage was that they were climbing up on the scaffolding that was being built for the inauguration.
Right.
And then we were setting off, flash bombs and smoke bombs from there. There are some repercussions that are occurring, though, although they're not officially governmental. They are in terms of, economic interest. So like Josh Hawley, Matt, as you mentioned, senator from Missouri, had a book deal with Simon & Schuster, and they canceled it.
Yeah,
which is awesome. And then of course he tweeted about
Orwellian.
How Orwellian is that? And it's woke cancel culture. And I saw many people tweeting, "This is not Orwellian. Orwell got his shit published."
So here, right, a guy like that is he's not acting in good faith. He absolutely
he's very smart. He's too smart to know better. Yeah.
And he's too smart to say irregardless. This is all a
God, nails in a chalkboard.
Right. I mean, I would love for someone to confront him on video and have him answer, which he won't, but say like, okay, let me get this straight. I tweeted about this the other day. Let me get this straight. You, a government official, thinks that a private company is obligated to print what you want them to print.
It's not how it works, right?
Right. Like, I just want to make sure.
He's another one of these like preppy Ivy League types who's trying to like position himself as a man of the people and against the elites. So it's like, oh, go. It's all bullshit. With that.
Anyway, so what is happening now is Trump's Twitter account was locked for like all of 12 hours, and then he released this like hostage video where he conceded without actually conceding. I mean, he just said a new administration will come in. He never said the word Biden. And so, but he acknowledges that he will leave today. He says he's not going to attend the inauguration, which is
a dog whistle for people to go be violent there because they'll know that their dear leader isn't going to be there.
Right. He's probably got some other crazy shit planned. So, anyway, Axios had reported like last week that he had some grandiose exit planned on, Marine One, the official helicopter. He wanted to do it at the exact same time as the inauguration to pull attention away. He's seething. Various cabinet members have resigned. Elaine Chao, the transportation secretary, Betsy DeVos, the completely useless Secretary of Education. They're
quitting
resigned.
now because if they stuck around, they'd have to put the 25th Amendment through.
I was just about to say that.
Sorry.
I was just about to say that they don't have to make a decision on that. But Mike Pence, our vice president, has said he probably won't initiate that process anyway.
Of course not.
It's everyone's bailing and they're all saying, "Oh, I was always appalled by this." So that is
for 4
happening.
years. Christy, what was your experience watching all this go down?
Where was I? So my Wednesday, even though time is a flat circle, the calendar still says January, which means that shitty new movies still come out. It's still the first week in January. So movies like Redemption Day, which I'd like for us to not waste our time on, come out. Do you know what it is?
I don't even know what that is.
I've seen it. I've seen worse.
Gary Dourdan has a great presence. He is like formidable and magnetic and sexy. He deserves a better movie. He is a former U.S. Marine captain, very decorated Marine, and his wife, who is an archaeologist, is abducted while on a dig in Morocco and held for $10 million ransom, and he has to go rescue her. And it's really shoddily put together. Like, it just looks like crap, whatever. Okay. And anyway. So I just finished watching that, and I had to try to turn around a review, and in between check Twitter. I was like, oh, holy shit, this is happening. And then proceeded to sit there like you, Alonso, in front of my TV for hours, glued. And I emailed my editor, Brian, and I said, look, no one's going to get anything done today, clearly. But I did go for a run in the middle of it, which was really, really helpful. Like I recommend getting outside safely to exercise in some way. It makes all the difference in the world. So I went for a run, then I came back and I watched the rest of it. And it's just really sad. I felt deeply, deeply sad and helpless. And like, what do we as individuals do? What do we do? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, as somebody on Twitter said, like, I can't think of three people who are less qualified to sort of like make something out of this moment than Schumer, Pelosi, and Biden. It's like, I don't see anybody doing anything proactive and like trying to turn this ship around. I just see a lot of like, well, here's why we can't do anything.
Because the system is set up to keep that from happening, right? If we had a parliamentarian system or something similar, you could have an immediate no confidence vote and he'd be out. Right. But the system is a two-party system specifically to keep compromise from happening. Right. So it keeps us separated like and then the people that know how to capitalize on that get to. I mean, I hate to sound that cynical, but that's where I'm at today.
In a deadlock, basically.
Right. I mean, I will tell you, I've never thought as seriously about trying to find a different place to go and live than I have this week.
If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning.
Right. Like, it's funny that shit doesn't get told to the people storming the Capitol, right? Like,
I was just going to say
to the right wing. Like, hey, man, if you don't like this country, leave.
Yeah.
As they're riding with the police that they proclaim to love.
Yeah, well, we know why it took so long for the police to get there.
Yes, because the DOD wouldn't send in the National Guard.
Oh, they had to go home and change.
It was an inside job.
Yeah,
well, Tom Morello tweeted that. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine tweeted, some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses.
That dude has been telling us that for 30 years.
We didn't listen. Sorry, Tom Morello.
Trump intentionally put in new heads of the DOD like in the last week or so. Yeah. And then, quashed the whole, like, so DC not being a state has no National Guard of its own to call in. And the governor of Maryland is on the phone with Steny Hoyer saying, I can't send you the National Guard until the DOD signs off on it. And they're saying no.
The Republican governor of Maryland, we should add.
Larry
Hogan's a Republican.
Yeah.
I should mention, go ahead.
I love the tweet that said people in the White House and administration staffers are walking around depressed and worried about their futures and worried about the jobs. And I thought, I've seen that clip from Downfall as Hitler's ranting in the bunker. Everybody around him looked depressed too.
Boo fucking boo. Yeah.
So there's video that has been widely circulated out there that Donald Trump Jr. posted of himself and Kimberly Guilfoyle. And they're all like partying in this tent, like getting revved up for the rally that preceded the rioting on Wednesday. And they're playing Gloria by Laura Branigan.
Take her name out of your mouth, Republicans.
Which is hilarious for so many reasons. If we listen to the lyrics, was it something that he said, all the voices in your head,
I think they've got the alias that you've been living under.
That, and also, what's the line about, if everybody wants you, why isn't anybody calling? And the line about, I think you're headed for a breakdown, but be careful not to show it. So anyway, hilarious. But Laura Branigan's estate has asked that they, not do that. Of course, whatever. It's the whole long history of bizarre songs that get played at Trump rallies.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Didn't they play at that rally? Didn't they play Macho Man when Rudy Giuliani?
I mean, the whole co-opting of the village people by the far right is just bizarre.
Look, they like a shiny masculinity, just like the Nazis with the boots.
Yeah.
And so if that happens to also cross over into homoerotic territory, well, what are you going to do?
Shit, you could make a killing with Robert Mapplethorpe photos selling to these people.
And who's the guy who did the pen and ink drawings?
Tom of Finland?
Tom of Finland, thank you. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway,
who would not be down for any of this politically.
No. So anyway, it's a crazy time. So we're all kind of sitting tight to see what's going to happen next. I wish he would just go down to fucking Florida and play golf and just leave. Just go. You don't want to be there. Just go. Yeah. But it's not going to happen because he's afraid of being prosecuted. Anyway.
That speech, can we talk about that speech for a second? Like the one that he gave where he finally admitted that, like,
the video?
No, not the "we love you" when, you know, but you need to go home.
The second video.
The second video. Yeah. Yes. The one where he's clearly like not going off script for a second and not enjoying having to say any of this, but like saying, well, you'll be prosecuted and the new administration will be coming in. Mark Harris called it a hostage video.
It is.
I've never seen any time where Trump speaks in complete sentences and doesn't veer off into talking about himself. You know that somebody suggested that they were holding up a copy of the 25th Amendment behind the teleprompter. Like, well, it's unprecedented in the years that we've had to deal with this dipshit in public life that he actually sounded like a genuine politician for a second.
One of the reports that came out of Vanity Fair saying that insiders had said that he got talked into that by his lawyers, who said, if you don't do something like that, it's going to fuel the fire of you being held criminally responsible after you get out of office.
CYA.
Right. The other thing I would say is, if you watch that video, that first cut to the 3/4 shot is jumpy, right?
It's a weird couple of cuts.
It's a weird cut. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see the outtakes, because I'm sure that that's where he goes off script the first time.
And they're like,
right? And so they cut it and they bring him back in. And then this next cut, he goes off script again. And I bet they even stopped filming and had to tell him, no, you have to do, or at least let it go and then cut to it, right? Like, maybe they let it go and cut to it and didn't let him see it before they posted it.
But then today he was back to tweeting in all caps about people being, angry and neglected. Whatever. We should move on. There's other news in the world, but we're sitting tight. Yeah, we're sitting tight and trying to, wrap our heads around this.
A couple more quick things though. Like, one, fuck Twitter. Like, fuck Twitter. No, honest to God. Like, everybody's like, oh, they should kick him off Twitter. They will never kick him off Twitter because he has got to be the number one driver of traffic to that organization. Mm-hmm. That would kill their golden goose. And it's the ultimate example of the danger of unfettered user-generated content, because Twitter doesn't have to take responsibility. Like, we're giving him a platform. He can say what he wants. And it's only until, unless there's financial penalties like there was on YouTube.
Right.
And like you want to get him off Twitter, go after the advertisers on Twitter. That's the only way that's going to happen. The other thing really, really quick is I love the little snippets of people showing of what's happening on Parler and 4chan places about how everybody's so mad that Trump abandoned them. It's like, the fuck did you guys think was going to happen?
Yeah. I'm enjoying that. I'm also enjoying people getting fired, and then whoever the corporate account is on Twitter tweeting like, we have let go so-and-so, I'm enjoying people, because they're all such dumbasses. They're all like posting photos and videos of themselves like storming the Capitol and stealing stuff and breaking shit, and like to brag about it. And then like, one dude had like his work badge around his neck. Like, what do you expect?
I like the guy who tweeted the picture of his son hanging off a statue and how proud he was. And then a few hours later, why is the FBI calling me?
Right. And then after that, the whole account goes away. It's like,
but what this really boils down to is this is such a grift. It's like, there are people in this country who are dissatisfied for various reasons, and some are understandable and some are nonsense, but that they have placed their hopes in this guy who cares not one fuck about them, who is only in it for lining his own pockets and setting up his own family, who has genuine disdain for people who he thinks are low class, as though he had any idea from his gold toilet what class was, that they have pinned all of their hopes into this guy as their messiah. It's like, that's the crazy part. That's the part that I still can't wrap my head around. Like, I understand, you know, whatever your POV might be, I might completely disagree with it. I might completely think that you're being played in a lot of ways by the wealthy, but that you picked this guy who played a successful person on TV, but who is in fact a failed, bankrupt, just, you know, con artist. That's the part I can never wrap my head around.
Indeed. All right. So we will we'll keep you guys posted on what all is happening. And then and be safe, you guys.
Please.
Stay home for a multitude of reasons, including the COVID is spiking in the middle of all of this. We had 4,000 deaths yesterday. Yeah. We crossed 4,000 deaths in one day yesterday. And
you know, in 2 weeks when we hear about how this was this insane super spreader event.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't see any masks.
They're all crammed into the dome. They're all, anyway. So there is that going on right now too. So please, I know we are all safe. I know here in LA County, they're recommending that schools remain closed for 3 more weeks. They're saying just don't do anything. Don't leave your house.
Yeah, don't leave your house at all, apparently.
So there's all that going on. Other news, this just happened today. Tommy Lasorda died at age 93, Dodger legend Tommy Lasorda. There's a weird thing with Tanya Roberts this past week where her rep said she died and then she hadn't died yet, but then she actually died the next day. Former Bond girl, Charlie's Angel, or That 70s Show star, Tanya Roberts. So there is that.
And then there was the report that Julie Strain had died.
Right. The same day.
No, she's actually not dead
either.
Lori Loughlin is free after 2 months in prison.
2 months that she got to schedule. Did you guys hear about that?
What's that?
She actually got to schedule what her jail time was, like when she would serve. Like, if that's not some rich white people shit, I don't know what it is.
White privilege. That's the thing that lets you be an ass.
White privilege has always brought luck to me.
So also there's a story that, Alonso, when I saw it, you're of course the first person I thought about, and that's this whole weirdness with Alec Baldwin's wife, Hilaria, who may just be hilarious. Who may just be Hillary from, well, it's admittedly a nice part of Boston. Weston, Mass is a very nice part of Boston. But how she's been discovered to be not really Spanish and be speaking in a Spanish accent all this time and pretending that she has no English words, like como se dice cucumber.
Cucumber, yeah. I was trying not to have an opinion about this, but then the
really?
Well, I just didn't. The idea that somebody was faking being Spanish was like, really? We've come to this now? But then TheWrap posted these like 7 videos where like Hilaria Baldwin's accent slips, and it's like there's ones where she's doing it, but it's never quite consistent, or it's just not even consistent from video to video. And then you get to the videos where she's not even trying; she's just doing her regular Weston, Massachusetts voice. You're like, oh, lady, come on. So, I mean, I guess I should be honored that like my people are now worthy of imitation, because that's somehow going to get you ahead in the world. But like, enough with the white people passing. I mean, okay, I'm a white person. Let's be clear. Spaniards are European. We're not Latino. That's the way that boils down. But like waspy white ladies who are trying to pass themselves off as something else to make themselves exotic or whatever, or white people in general. Women are the ones who get caught at it a lot in the media, but don't do it. Just don't do it.
Is this worse than when Madonna was British briefly? Where she was married to Guy Ritchie. The
cold open of the second episode of this season's Letterkenny has a great bit about them talking about somebody that they know had gone to Europe and came back with an accent.
Are you in the queue for a pint?
Exactly. Oh, you went to Ibiza. Very funny.
There is going to be a third Wonder Woman movie directed by Patty Jenkins and starring Gal Gadot. I have hope that they will get the opportunity to get it right this time.
I liked it more than y'all did. So bring on a Wonder Woman 3.
You know, this is one of those things that, like, if nothing else, that has to be proof that it did really, really, really well financially for Warner Brothers, right? Like, they had to have gotten new signups to HBO Max. They can see how many people are watching. Like, it had to have done well enough for them to immediately make that decision.
It was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. Like, the streaming numbers must have been super high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or they had made up their mind about that even beforehand and just decided they were going to time the announcement that way. Who knows what's really going on back there? But great. I'm for it.
One thing, Matt, that you mentioned, and again, this feels like a lifetime ago, but like 2 weeks ago, right as Wonder Woman 1984 was coming out, there was this interesting article about whether she is forcing herself on the handsome dude,
right,
who Steve Trevor's inside of, but like outwardly he's still the dude that his body's been taken over, and they have sex.
Not the dude.
Yeah, El Duderino.
Christopher Palaha's handsome man, as he is credited.
Yes, and so that's an interesting question. Like, is it rape? Is she forcing herself upon somebody who has not consented to have sex with her?
That's a question that I don't feel qualified to wade into. I will say that she had the permission of the person who was occupying the body without permission. I don't know.
See, but like the way they depict it is that this guy's consciousness has been like suppressed or usurped, or like he's not in there anymore. It's a body swap comedy.
Right. So a couple of questions that really, this is more like the trolley thought experiment, right? Which is a whole other thing, because the engineer's take on the trolley experiment is, well, that's bad engineering that would happen. But so first of all, we don't know where that consciousness goes.
Right.
The Phantom Zone?
Right. So as a somewhat sidebar, like if we had seen that, we don't actually see Vince Vaughn's serial killer character use the young girl's body for sex in Freaky. Mm-hmm. We don't see that. And I think that would be, I wonder what kind of reaction we would have seen if the genders were reversed in this storyline in a movie like Wonder Woman. Now, one of the questions is, or that I have, is what would it be if that handsome guy was in a coma? Like, no, hear me out. Hear me out. Because,
like, is he in a hospital bed?
So if that,
this is the plot of Talk to Her, I think.
No, but I mean, seriously, like if that guy was in a coma and he's not using his body, I think that's awfully similar to the argument that, like, well, he wasn't using his body, somebody else was.
And I mean, it's like, is it the same as if she roofied him? But there is somebody occupied. I don't feel qualified to delve into this one. I'm glad the conversation is happening.
The person inside the body says yes.
Right.
But the person who has the consciousness within the body is giving consent.
Right.
But is it his body?
He's renting.
Consent with.
It's like if you Airbnb and you throw a party in the house. No, I don't know.
Anyway, it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I did not think of it when I was watching it. I didn't find that moment offensive or problematic or whatever.
I didn't really think about it until I started to see other people talk about it. The more I think about it, I'm actually really, really uncomfortable with it.
Interesting.
And then coupled with, like, there's been some talk about the movie's depiction of
Middle Easterners.
Middle Easterners.
Right. It's like simplistic and problematic.
Right.
Which is also part of the problem with Redemption Day, which I was watching as the rioting was going on. They're Moroccan
everything comes
kidnappers.
Back to Redemption Day.
Okay, so
we'll talk about that because they're actually Algerian, right? Because the filmmaker's from Morocco.
They're Algerian.
And so he's throwing stones at Algeria.
But you would think you would want to have a slightly more nuanced depiction of this region that quite frequently is so superficial and jingoistic. Anyway, a whole other conversation. We have so much more news for you. Dr. Drew got COVID after for so long being a COVID denier. Dr. Drew got COVID. Larry King has COVID and was in the ICU at Cedars for like a week, but he's out.
Have you guys seen the interview he did with Danny Pudi?
No.
From Abed from
I know who Danny
Community.
Pudi,
Yeah. So it's this whole thing where he goes through this list of questions similar to what's his name on Inside the Actor Studio.
James
and the last one, he's like, what's a luxury that you should watch the clip because it's hilarious. Like, what's a luxury you can't live without? Pudi's like, coffee. I need good coffee. And King's like, well, that's a luxury. Anybody can get coffee. And Pudi says, oh, well, socks. I like a good comfortable sock. And, and King says, like socks on your shoes? Pudi's like, yeah, I like a good comfortable sock that makes me feel good. And King says, no. And Pudi gets a little short with him and says, all right, tell me a luxury, Larry. Tell me a luxury. And King says, well, like a private plane or something like that. And Pudi says, this is the best part. Pudi says, Larry, I'm on DuckTales.
Please.
Yeah, coffee can be a luxury. Like if you only drink the kind that like the cats poop out,
Oh yeah.
You know about this, Christy?
No, and I don't
There are
want to
civet
know.
cats.
There's a kind of coffee bean that is eaten by these like jungle cats, and the
civet
stomach
cats.
acid
Yeah.
neutralizes the outside of the bean. And so then when they take the whole beans out of the poop and roast them, it's like this really amazing coffee.
Yikes.
This coffee tastes like shit. Yep.
I don't know who figured that out or how, but there we are.
Right.
You guys, I
Who's
totally...
like, well, we're out of coffee beans.
Ooh, what's this? So I totally buried the lead, you guys, and that is that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are getting divorced.
Oh my God.
Who would have seen that coming?
You know what? I don't believe in marriage anymore. If they can't make it work.
Those kids, yeah.
These two crazy kids.
I mean, no wonder there were riots at the Capitol.
I hope he gets the help he needs.
Yes.
Because he clearly does.
Yes. So that is her third divorce. I don't know how many it is for him, but that's that was a big deal. They have 4 children together, and it was a very publicly lived life. Supposedly, when he brought her the hologram of her father, Robert Kardashian,
right,
to her 40th birthday party in Tahiti, her $1 million 40th birthday party, he dropped it off and left.
Yeah, I read that.
That's how bad things have gotten.
If you are the Kardashians and you have something like this happen in your life, are you allowed to say that thing that they always say in the media, which is, we would appreciate our privacy at this time?
No.
Have you forfeited the right to anything resembling privacy when you have turned your actual life into entertainment for the masses?
No. And I think that's yet another step in the storyline. Why would you want privacy? Why would you not want to share that with everybody? Anyway, speaking of people who live very publicly, Chrissy Teigen announced on Instagram that she has stopped drinking. She's been sober for like a month. And she basically just came to the conclusion, like, I'm tired of feeling like shit. I'm tired of making an ass out of myself. The things she thought were funny are not funny anymore. So I think that's a big deal on somebody who is that high profile, who has made themselves that vulnerable and is that appealing to that many people, that she can make people think, maybe question their own decisions about their relationship with alcohol, women especially. So.
Good honor, because I did see a lot of people say, well, there goes my dry January after the events of this week. So
yes. Speaking of more celebrity news, apparently Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles are dating.
Did they do it just for the portmanteau?
I mean, not everybody understood that joke when I made it on Twitter.
Because they're too young.
Because it's Wild Styles. Get
Come
it?
on.
Wild Styles.
They've
been working on the movie together, right? And
she broke up with Deakins.
They're all over each other. This is also the same movie that she fired Shia LaBeouf off of. Right.
She's directing this. Yes.
Here's the thing. Movie sets are already like a hotbed of horniness. But when you're on a movie set and you know that everybody around you has been quarantined and tested and is living in the bubble, are they hornier now? Like, I mean, you know, you're surrounded by people that you can bang because you're all like not having COVID.
Listen, there's no sex like bubble sex.
Right. And everyone's very attractive, like Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles are both extremely gorgeous people.
Indeed they are.
That reminds me of the story where there were rumors that Melanie Griffith had shown up on set for all the sex scenes that happened in Original Sin to make sure that what was going on with Antonio Banderas didn't go any farther with Angelina Jolie.
She is a man trap.
Yes.
My husband's niece is named Meg, and her husband's name is Ryan. So I love getting to refer to them as Meg Ryan all the time.
Cute, yes. Oh, wait, I married someone named Chris.
You
There
did
you
indeed.
go. We are Chris and Christy. So Justin Bieber, I love this Justin Bieber piece of information. This is so interesting. He is not studying to be a pastor, contrary to reports that suggested he was. And he has disowned Hillsong Church on Instagram.
Well.
The pastor that he made like a superstar.
Yeah.
The pastor who was like flashy and like courtside seats for Knicks games and tats and, you know, dressing like a complete douche. And he, you know, and got in trouble with the church for like cheating on his wife and all kinds of not Christian behavior. He, you know, Justin Bieber lived with this guy for a while. And now all this time later to say like, I don't belong to Hillsong Church anymore.
Wow.
Isn't that the church that Chris Pratt is?
Yes, it is.
Yes. It's like new agey celebrity church.
And isn't Bieber also married to a Baldwin?
Yes. Not Hilaria.
Not Hilaria.
What is her
Spanish?
name? It's something with an H, though. What's Justin Bieber's wife's name? Haley.
Haley. And also a daughter of Alec? Is that the deal?
No,
Or
daughter of somebody
like
else.
Billy or somebody?
Another Baldwin.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's interesting.
I'm so on top of everything.
Chauncey.
It's, there were maskless protests at a mall that the three of us used to go to all the time when
Yes.
we had screenings.
I go to that Gelson's whenever we would have screenings there afterwards.
It's
They
a
pick
very
up
nice
everything.
Gelson's.
It is.
So, but they stormed the Ralphs down the street on Olympic and like Century Park West kind of. And then they stormed into and all throughout the Century City Mall and maskless.
To accomplish what?
My freedom. Why must you ask? It's my freedom.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yes, so that was exciting. Another reason not to go to the mall these days. Emma Stone is
Fuck
pregnant.
everybody.
I'm
Good for
sorry.
us.
Emma Stone's pregnant with her first child.
How'd that happen?
I know.
Puzzle thought.
She got married.
Well,
late
Matt,
last
when a man and
year.
woman love each other very much.
They hug each other in a special way. So she got married quietly last year to the Saturday Night Live writer Dave McCary. They are expecting their first child. That is very nice. Jimmy Kimmel and James Corden have gone back to taping their shows remotely because the COVID situation in LA is so bad right
Pretty
now.
much all production in LA is stopped for at least a couple more weeks, is right. Even things that were expected to be shooting as soon as the holidays were over are like, yeah, not just yet. Because
The Price is Right and The Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal have both extended their production hiatus. And the Grammys have moved. They were supposed to have been January 31st, and now they're going to be in mid-March because of COVID. But like, who the hell knows how it's going to look in mid-March? I don't know.
Right, because the vaccination distribution is going so well.
Yeah. It's interesting though to find out how many people don't want to take it. Like Chris was saying, broke his arm in this bike accident a few months back, and he's going to physical therapy. And apparently, like, not everybody in that physical therapy office wants to take the vaccine.
I know
like,
people that are.
if you could, wouldn't you? Like, I would do it tomorrow if I
heartbeat.
could.
Two of my brothers
And I-
already, who are doctors, already got theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I would take them both today.
Yeah.
If I get them both, I'll take them both.
I have a bunch of friends who are doctors who've already gotten their second shot by now.
After I get vaccinated, the masks stay on because what the hell is happening out there?
Yeah, you just don't know. Dr. Dre was in ICU at Cedars with a brain aneurysm. I think he's out now.
He
but
has
while
gone
he
home, I
was
think,
gone, his house got burglarized.
Oh,
How
no.
shitty is that?
Oh, that's.
Do you think like you get that news like now's the time?
Why would that occur to you? Dr. Dre, the man's a treasure.
Clearly
Dr. Dre of all people. Why
Some
would you do
version of the
that?
bling ring was watching the headlines, I guess.
very
Yikes.
Treasure's
sad.
a strong word.
Oh.
Treasure's
Dr. Dre is a treasure, a musical, creative treasure, is he not? Think back to when you were in high school.
No, when I was in high school,
when he was
Dr. Dre was in
abusing
high
women,
school
sure.
too, probably. Was he a giant homophobe? Yes, I think he was.
Right, when he was abusing women, sure. MF Doom was a fucking treasure.
That, yes, I was very sad to hear that.
That was, I mean, sure. Is he like the rapper's rapper? Is he kind of the one that like you have to kind of be in to hear about? Sure. But that was one I was super bummed about.
I knew about MF Doom even as somebody who's an idiot about hip hop just because of the Adult Swim stuff he had done.
The Mouse and the Mask album that he did with Danger Mouse is so good. And Mad Villainy, his team up with Madlib, is also amazing. By
the way, if we're talking about deaths, I want to talk real quick about Joan Micklin Silver.
Okay, go ahead.
Undersung indie hero of the 1970s independent cinema, and I don't think we talk about her nearly enough. She was maybe best known for her first film, Hester Street, which won an Oscar for Carol Kane, a movie that nobody wanted to distribute. No, they didn't want to deal with women directors. They thought it was too Jewish. It wasn't enough in English. They literally were telling her to like put it on 16 millimeter and distribute it to synagogues. And so her husband and her husband started a company and like took it to Cannes and released it and got Oscar nominations and it became a hit. And did that open the door for her to do other stuff? Not really, because you think it's shitty for women filmmakers now being one in the 70s and 80s in this country. She was one of the very few working women directors, but she leaves behind a legacy of great films, including Chilly Scenes of Winter and Crossing Delancey. She did the first original HBO movie, Finnegan Begin Again, which is not on HBO Max. And she did a great adaptation for PBS of
Oscar nominee, not an award.
I didn't say it won.
Carol Kane.
She was nominated.
Yeah, you said
Carol Kane was nominated. Dave
I think he said that.
Sorry, Carol
Tell
Kane
Dave to stop mansplaining.
Carol Kane was nominated. She says stop mansplaining. And she did a great adaptation of an F. Scott Fitzgerald story called Bernice Bobs Her Hair for PBS, which you can watch on Canopy, and I recommend that you do because it's great. But anyway, I'm a huge Joan Micklin Silver fan. I got the chance to present her with a great director tribute during my tenure at the USA Film Festival in Dallas when her film The Fish in the Bathtub came out, which was recently restored. Oh, Between the Lines is great, which Cohen put out on Blu-ray last year. Anyway, great American filmmaker, not nearly revered enough. I think she should be talked about alongside John Cassavetes as people who really moved the needle for American indie cinema, like after World War II and before Sundance. So
there you go.
That's it.
Thank you for that. I do have a couple more deaths, and then I'm going to end on a good piece of news.
Okay.
Dawn Wells.
Yes.
Marianne from Gilligan's Island died of COVID at age 82. Adolfo Quinones, better known as Shabba from Breakin'. He died at age 65.
And he did it right. He was doing a lot of choreography after that, right? Like he was doing video. I think he'd done some choreography with Michael Jackson. He'd done some other stuff.
He toured with Sheila E., I think on the Sheila E. and Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling.
Yeah, he and Tony Basil, who is also has also been a very influential choreographer, kind of come out of the same LA dance crew. But I remember pre-Breakin' seeing Shabba on like variety shows. This was the last gasp of variety shows. I think NBC had a weekly thing called The Big Show, and it would be the Shabba dancers, and they would come out and do shit I had never seen anybody do before. And then so like when Breakin' came out, I was like, oh, that guy, yeah. And so such a pioneer and such an extraordinary dancer and choreographer.
Right. He was 65. He died at his home. I'm not sure we know how he died. I was just looking it up.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
There's still no cause of death, I don't think. But
you were mentioning Dawn Wells. Do you guys remember when she got arrested for sending weed to Bob Denver?
No.
Wow.
She got arrested for sending pot through the mail,
like in cookies Gilligan. Or like in a bale. I don't
remember, but I remember specifically because like one of the pictures that came up was like her mugshot, and she's kind of like smirking. Because she had sent weed to Gilligan. Like, if we look back now, I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
Oh.
And even at the time, people were like, I don't know.
They could have been growing it on the island all the time.
There you go. Behind the palm trees. We are now down
they couldn't get off.
We're now down to what they didn't want to. We're now down to one castaway.
Yes, Tina Louise.
Tina Louise is the last. Is somebody said like meet your new Survivor champion, which I thought was a little tacky, but you know.
Yes, and then the best news of all that's come out during this horrible time is that my great hero Roger Deakins has been knighted. Call him Sir Roger from now on.
Yes, hurrah!
Yes,
well deserved.
Well deserved.
SRD from now on.
Anyway, so that's it. It's been a couple of weeks of news and a lot going on in the world, and we will keep you apprised as to how things are in our crazy country.
Right. I didn't get any marquees done this week because it was shitty.
Nobody got anything
but I
done
appreciate
this week,
everybody
except
sending
for
a bunch
Chris's
in.
review.
Yeah, everybody sent a bunch in. So
Bunch next week. Maybe.
Yeah, a bunch next week. I might even do a separate clip. So, but thank you guys.
Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you for being more on the ball than we are, because it was a very hard week to focus. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and do check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're about to dig into Netflix's Bridgerton, which is really interesting so far. I'm into it. And we're going to be digging into WandaVision once that premieres on Disney Plus. So a lot of fun stuff coming up over on our Patreon page that's exclusive to our subscribers. We hope you'll check that out. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. Stay safe, wash your hands, do all that stuff. We'll see you next time.